Hi. Okay. I don't know if you can tell, but there are some changes. First things first. My biggest love language is gift giving. I love to spoil the people around me. I love getting the best, most thoughtful gifts. But I have been out gifted. Yes, I have. By who? None other than my younger brother. Yeah. April was my birthday month, and for my birthday, my younger brother lovingly and generously gifted me a DJI camera with a mic for my birthday. I have been outgifted. I have been outgifted. That has never once in my life happened before. I'm still speechless about it. I really am. My birthday was in the beginning of April and I'm still in shock, truly. My brother, iconic, wonderful, love you. And this is actually my first time using it with a mic because this is my first time using it as a sit down camera for my YouTube videos. And so I have no idea if this is actually going to work. And also, I need to find a stand for this because you guys know me. I talk with my hands. So to hold this the entire time in a video, I'm going to go crazy. I need to find something to hold this mic. So those are all the things that I need to get out of the way. But we are here at the end of April with a monthly wrap up of all the books that I've read. And like I said, April was my birthday month, so I had a lot of things going on. I was booked and busy, baby. Yes, I was. I still did get some reading done because that is always my priority. It was a pretty good reading month. I also will say I read more books that I kind of didn't really have to use my brain for, if that makes sense, because I was so busy and I had a lot of things going on. I traveled to Portugal for my birthday with my best friend. And so a lot of the books that I decided to pick up in April were very easy for me to get through, nothing that I needed to use all of my brain power for. So I will lead with that, okay? I also feel that since I pre-recorded some videos so that I would have videos to post while I was gone and on vacation and busy in the month of April, I haven't actually sat down and filmed in a really long time, and I'm feeling a little bit out of it. But anyway, we are here, monthly wrap up for April. We are, as always, going to start off with some stats. I read 13 books in April, which is still great. Still a fantastic reading month, as I said. I do believe I am on track to hit my goal, which is 150 books. Honestly, this is truly the slowest pace I've ever taken reading in years. And I'm enjoying it. I don't feel any pressure to keep up with the Joneses when it comes to reading, if that makes any sense. There are a lot of new releases coming out, and I don't know, I just don't feel the need to keep up with everyone and everything in the publishing industry or in reading in general like I used to. I'm enjoying that. There's a lot less pressure. Page number, 15% of the books that I read this month, which are only 2 books, were less than 300 pages, and 85% of the books were 300 to 499 pages. I didn't read any big books this month, nothing over 500 pages, which is fine. My brain probably wouldn't have been able to comprehend that anyway, given how busy I was in April. My top genres are romance, contemporary, historical, classics, and LGBTQIA. Those seem to be the genres of the year. I feel like that's been pretty consistent for the past 4 months of 2026. Those genres, yeah. Format. 23% of the books I read were through digital on my ebook. 31% of the books I read were print. And 46% of the books that I read in April were through audiobook. This is the first month where I've listened to more audiobooks than I have physically read books. And again, it was just because it was easier for me to digest books through audiobooks while I was busy and doing a lot of things this month. My average star rating is 3.77 for April. Pretty good reading month, if I do say so myself. I'm going to be completely transparent and honest with you guys and tell you that I did not prepare for this video whatsoever. And I'm already really bad at giving summaries and like really thought-provoking reviews about the books that I read. And the fact that I haven't prepared anything, yeah, we're purely vibes for this video. Let us go through the 13 books that I read. The first book that I read in April is Wild Rain by Beverly Jenkins. This is a historical romance book. If you watched my spring bookish vlog, I had gone to the library during that vlog and I actually picked up a bunch of historical romances that have been on my list for a really long time. And this was one of them. Did I read that physical library book that I got? No, I listened to the audiobook instead. My brain, that's just how it works, you know? I didn't really know anything going in. The reason why I had it on my TBR was because it is on one of my lists for child-free by choice romance books. That's really all I knew about it before going in. This book is about Spring, our female main character. Yeah, her name is Spring. That was definitely a choice and maybe of its time. I don't know if people were really named Spring back in the day. This takes place after the Civil War, so that's the time period we're working with. We're in Wyoming and Spring actually owns her own ranch, which is very radical for that time. She's an independent woman, no man in her life, no kids. She owns her own ranch. She does all the physical labor that it takes to maintain a ranch on her own. She has all these animals. She's a bad bitch. She really is. She truly is. She is not afraid to get her feet muddy. She's really not. And then our male main character, Garrett, is actually a reporter for, I think, a black newspaper or a black magazine. One of the two. And he makes his way to Spring's hometown because he wants to do an article on the Black doctors in that area. And Colton, who is Spring's older brother, happens to be the doctor that he wanted to write an article about. And he ends up meeting Spring instead because Colton is away helping with another patient in a different town. So while he waits for Colton to come back, he is getting to know Spring and they end up falling in love. What I really loved about this was that Garrett, despite being a working man, and again, for this time period, he really respected Spring and the fact that she was an independent queen and had her own ranch and never once at all tried to change her. A man who accepted that his woman was an independent baddie and didn't once try to change her. Those men are only found in books. Yeah, those men are fictional, babe. They really are. And Garrett was one of them. Yeah, he appreciated an independent baddie and we have to stand him for that. We really do. Other than that, was he a little bit boring? Yeah, he kind of was. But that's because Spring was the focus of this book. Like, it was truly her show. She was the main character and he was just there hyping her up and falling in love with her. The last half of the book had a little bit of a suspense mystery type of subplot that was going on. And when I tell you that these two really stood 10 toes down on business for each other, yeah. And we love to see it. I rated this 3.5 stars. I definitely want to read more Beverly Jenkins books. This was my first book that I read by her. I really did enjoy it. So yeah, that was Wild Rain. All right, the next book that I read, I'm not going to go over too much because it is a sequel, and that is Moonlight Murder by Uzma Jalaluddin. This is the second book in the Detective Aunties series. This was actually an arc that I read. I think the book has now come out. I rated this 3.75 stars. I rated the first book in this series 5 stars because it was absolutely incredible. This is technically a cozy mystery series, right? But the main character, Kosar, she deals with a lot of cultural and generational trauma, and she's also dealt with a lot of misogyny. And now that she is a widow, she's trying to unlearn all of that and trying to heal from a lot of the decisions that she made when she was younger. And just as someone who was in an arranged marriage when she was young and, you know, had to deal with a lot of cultural expectations. And so the first book kind of dealt with a lot of that. This second book, there is the death of a young man that was her granddaughter's boyfriend at the time. And I mean, they're like in high school, like freshmen, sophomores in high school, right? Kosar's own son, when he was about that same age, had been killed in a hit and run, and they never found the killer. There are certain aspects of this new murder that kind of mirror her son's own murder. There was a very heavy melancholy vibe about this book because of that, because she she's seeing similarities between this current death and then her son's death. And so upon everyone in the community knowing that she helped solve a murder case in the first book, now kind of lean on her to use her observational skills and her, being an elderly woman in the community. A lot of people are more open to her and, have more of a soft spot for her. So they will divulge in information a little bit easier with Kosar. And so the people in the community kind of lean on her to help also solve this case. And in doing so, it kind of inspires her to solve the case of her own son. This was definitely a heavier book because of that. And it's not that that kind of took away from how good the book was, but I just wasn't expecting it to be as heavy and emotional as it was. I think also I may have read this at the wrong time when I really wasn't in the mood for a cozy mystery. And so I kind of forced myself to go through most of this because, like I said, I just wasn't in the headspace for it, but it was an arc and it was coming out soon. I really wanted to, read it so I could get it during release day because I still absolutely love this author's writing. I think she writes such great characters and such rich stories. Each character in this, not just Kosar, but her daughter and her friends, and she has like a budding romance with someone. They are all such raw, real characters. Even though they are technically side characters, they also have their own story and they still feel like part of the plot. And I really love that. And again, I love Kosar's journey of, now she's a widow and she's kind of trying to figure life out on her own for the first time in a really long time. And she gets to make decisions for her own life when before those decisions were kind of made for her. I gave it 3.75 stars. I still really enjoyed it. I didn't love it as much as I love the first book, but I think a lot of it had to do with me just not being in the right headspace for a pretty emotional cozy mystery, but I still enjoyed it. And if you are looking for a cozy mystery series, I highly recommend this one. So that is Moonlight Murder. Okay, the next book that I read has to be, I need to be shouting about this book from the rooftops because when I tell you that I have not been able to find a good sapphic romance in forever, truly in years. I don't know what it is, but the sapphic books just haven't been hitting. I've DNF'd so many. There are some arcs of sapphic romances that I've DNF'd that you guys don't even know about because I don't talk about arcs that I DNF because I don't think that's fair. But I've been trying to find a good sapphic romance, okay? And you guys, I found one. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. The next book that I read in April was The View from the Top by Rachel Lacey. I randomly found this book at Half Price Books months ago. And so it's been on my physical TBR for the longest time. I finally decided to pick it up because remember, I've been telling you guys, I'm in a romance mood. She's in a romance mood. She really is. And this was fantastic, I do have to say. Our first female main character is Emily. She's 35. She's working at the inn that her grandmothers own, her adopted grandmothers who are lesbians and iconic. But her passion is really painting. She is working at this inn and she also lives on sort of a guest house behind the inn on the property. But she's sort of just working here as a stable job so that she can support herself. The other female main character is Diana. She's like a top executive for her family company, which is one of those parent companies that buys smaller inns and motels to acquire them as part of her family's large hotel chain. Diana's job is to go to these smaller businesses and to get acquainted with them and buy them out. They meet because the both of them are on a hike, and on that hike they hit it off, and then they go out to dinner and hook up later that night. And when I tell you guys their first hookup, that shit was hot, spicy. Yeah. And it took, I think, like 3 or 4 chapters. Their first hookup was a chunk of the book. I was like, holy shit, they're really going for it. They are doing the damn thing. But yeah, that first night they were together, hot. Yeah, wasn't expecting that. Ate it up. Sure did. But Emily doesn't know that Diana is there to put an offer and is one of the people that are bidding to buy her grandmother's inn because her grandmothers didn't tell her that they're putting it up for sale. So when Diana shows up the next day, she's like, what the fuck? I thought this was a one-night stand. Of course, Emily does feel some type of way about it because she didn't know. She's kind of thrown off. She knows that Diana, the night before, had gone into great detail about how she's working up the corporate ladder, babe. She's trying to replace her dad to be the CEO. Like she has a plan. Okay. And she's willing to do whatever it takes to get there, stepping on anyone's necks to get there. Emily, she sort of sees Diana in a different light. She kind of sees her more as like a corporate shark now than the really sweet and ambitious person that she had met. And because of that, they're always in proximity with each other because Diana does end up buying the inn and spends time with Emily and her community to try and turn things around with the inn and really make it something of her own. And what I really loved was that, and this is a common theme that I'm noticing that I'm loving more and more and more with the romances that I'm reading, is that each character has their own story and their lives and their narrative do not revolve around the romance. It's not all about the romance. It's not all about the other person. They both have their own issues to deal with. They both have their own life outside of the romance. And you see a lot of it, especially because Diana lives in Boston. Emily lives in this small town. So you see Diana's life in Boston and how, she is with her family and all the issues that she's dealing with over there. And then Emily as herself trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life and figure out, her own destiny and trying to pursue her passions. Not every single thought in their mind was about the other person. And it wasn't about, liking each other, the attraction. They had their own life. And I appreciated that so much. Like I really felt like we got two individual characters and their own personal growth and development while also watching them fall in love with each other. And it was absolutely fantastic. If you are looking for a sapphic romance, if some of the ones that you've been reading have not been hitting, please read The View from the Top. The next book that I read was Battle Royal by Lucy Parker. This is another book that I picked up at the library during my vlog. And this is an author that I've read and loved her books before. I really enjoyed this one too. I rated it 3.5 stars. It takes place in London, and you basically have these two competitive bakers. Our female main character, what is her name? Sylvie. She was a contestant on a reality baking show, and our male main character, Dominic, was one of the judges. Sylvie really got under Dominic's nerves because she's definitely like a manic pixie dream girl, but not in a very annoying, cringy way, in a very endearing way, at least in my opinion. She's very sparkle and rainbows, and he's very stoic and very serious about baking. He has a very prestigious chocolate restaurant, cafe? What do they call those? Dessert cafe? And Sylvie has her own bakery right across the street from him. And these two are not really enemies, but they definitely don't get along and they're not each other's biggest fans. And then on that same reality TV show, they ask Sylvie to be a judge for the new season, and Dominic is also a judge. So now they're both on the same judging panel. And then there is a royal duchess who is getting married, and the two of them are fighting to bake the cake that is going to be the star of the wedding. There's a lot going on between these two, right? And they end up falling in love. I really did enjoy this grumpy sunshine dynamic between these two because Dominic is for sure a grump, but Sylvie is definitely a sunshine. Again, just like with Lucy Parker's other books, each character has a very, not tragic, but tough backstory. And there's a lot of emotional depth in her books that you don't quite expect with a book that has a cover like this. There was a lot of emotional depth from this book, from both characters. And I really enjoyed that. Like I said, the characters had a life outside of the romance. And that's really what I am looking for now. And so I really enjoyed this. I rated it 3.5 stars, had fun, and it had that Lucy Parker humor that I love so much. This book, lots of funny moments, lots of really outrageous scenarios, but I really enjoyed it. So that is Battle Royal. Ooh, the next book that I read was Sweet Vengeance by Viano Oniomo. And this is a monster romance, monster smut. This is about Joy, who's dealing with a very, very, very traumatic event that happened in her life. And she's looking for revenge on the man who hurt her. Yes, she is. And how does she get revenge? By summoning a demon. Yeah. Yeah. And the two of them collaborate to make this man's life a living hell. And we love to see it. We really do. We love to see women getting their revenge. We love to see a demon helping that woman get her revenge. Yeah, we do. And then we love to see that demon plowing that woman. Yeah, we do. Yes, we do. This was fun. This was fun, hot, very short. I think it's under 200 pages, so it's a very short book, but I really enjoyed it. I rated it 3 stars, and it gave me everything that I needed from a monster smut. That was Sweet Vengeance. Next, I listened to the audiobook for Never Been Worse by Morgan Elizabeth. Similarly to Lucy Parker, I really love the humor that she has in her books. Her books, like some things that the characters say and do, I will physically laugh out loud. And she's one of the only authors who can entice me to do so. And so I know I'm going to have a good time and a fun time whenever I read her romances. And also, this author knows how to write her mailman characters to be absolute simps for these women. This book is about Harper, and in the beginning of the book, she and her friend, her 2 best friends, are actually getting arrested for trespassing because they are trying to get revenge on her ex-fiance. Is her ex-fiance her ex-husband? Just her cheating ex-boyfriend. She thought she was going to marry him. Okay, that's what it was. She thought he was going to propose to her. She ends up finding him in bed with another woman, and so her and her best friends go to his house to do some property damage. Yeah, and they end up getting arrested. Honestly, something that would happen to me and my friends, for sure, 1000%. Would I, in any lifetime, get arrested for causing property damage to someone who cheated on my best friend? 1000%, without a doubt, in my mind. No hesitation, baby. I'll go to jail for that. Yeah, yes, I will. But anyway, her ex and his new girlfriend are basically trying to sabotage her job as a up-and-coming fashion designer. And so she's dealing with the loss of that relationship and also the damage that is being done to her reputation and potentially her career. And Holden, the mailman character, is the lead guitarist for a rock band, and he is the best friend of her best friend's husband. So they're in the same friend group. And he's always had a little thing for her, but she's been in a relationship, so he hasn't been able to do anything about it. His band has had a sort of scandal happen in the past. One of his bandmates, his wife is pregnant, and their couple, which I'm assuming is one of Morgan's previous books, they went through such a huge scandal, and now that she's pregnant, don't really want to announce it because they're scared that something is going to happen. So their band kind of needs a distraction because they are going to have to put a pause on a big tour that they were going to go on, and they don't want people speculating or assuming something bad has happened. In order to kind of save Emily's reputation and also distract the media from the fact that the band's going on tour, these two end up getting married. Now that I'm saying that out loud, that sounds fucking insane. Like, it sounds crazy that the solution to all of their problems was to get married. But if you couldn't tell, this is a marriage of convenience. But they end up falling in love, and really, really sweet. Like I said, this man was an absolute simp for her. The way that he worshipped the ground that she walked on, there is no doubt in anyone's mind that that's her man. That's her man. I had a really fun time with this. I rated it 3.75 stars. Really enjoyed it. That is Never Been Worse. All right, the next book that I read was an arc for Silvia Moreno Garcia's new book coming out later this year called The Intrigue. Rated this 3.75 stars. I love Silvia Moreno Garcia. However, their books are always hit or miss. I love some of their books, but I dislike some of their books also. This one, I thought I was really going to love because when I first read the premise, to me, in my head, I was going to get a romance between a con man and a con woman. You have Ulysses, who is a con man, right? He is a very handsome and attractive 30-something man who his long con right now is getting older women who are rich and come from money to fall in love with him and somehow con them out of their money. The new woman that he's trying to con, her name is Perla. She owns a boarding house in a very rural, isolated town in Mexico, miles and miles and miles away from Mexico City. And her niece, Inez, finds out that he is running this con on her aunt, and she wants in. Yeah, she hates her aunt, and she wants to flee this house that she's basically being held hostage in, tries to collaborate with him and scheme to con her aunt out of all of her aunt's money, which is technically rightfully hers. Eventually it's going to be passed down to her, but she doesn't want to wait until her aunt dies to inherit that money. And then they end up falling in love. And I don't know. I thought it was going to be more of this sort of cat and mouse conning chase, but it just ends up being them trying to find ways to kill Perla and get the money. It's a historical fiction, so it takes place in the 1940s in Mexico, which I actually really loved that setting. And I loved, the sort of the fashion and kind of the way that society was like back in that day. That was very interesting, and I really enjoyed that. It reminded me sort of like a telenovela, because you also kind of see the lives of the other people in the boarding house, so the other characters, and then the other people in the small town that they live in, and how this community is such a close-knit community that all of their lives intersect with each other. They're all interwoven. And so one piece of drama from one person is like a domino effect, and it like causes all this chaos for everyone else. And then everyone's gossiping about it. Like, it truly felt like I was watching a telenovela. So I really enjoyed that part of it, but it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And the romance was a bit weird, because as Ulysses is falling in love with Inez, he's also conning Perla, her aunt, and hooking up with her because, he's trying to seduce her. Weird. Kind of weird to me, personally. I still really love Silvia Moreno Garcia's writing, such gripping writing, and you really definitely feel for these characters. And towards the end, shit was happening. There was a lot of drama and a lot of action happening. So I was at the edge of my seat towards the end, because I wanted to know what the fuck was going to happen, but just not overall what I was expecting from it. So still highly recommend if you like Silvia Moreno Garcia's books. I definitely think this is one worth checking out. That was The Intrigue. All right, the next book that I read is Codename Charming by Lucy Parker, which is technically the second book to Battle Royal. I think it's just a duet, and this romance follows Dominic's younger sister, Pet. Her real name is Petunia, but she goes by Pet, and the bodyguard remember that Duchess that I was telling you about that had the royal wedding in Battle Royal? Her husband's bodyguard is Matthias, and it's their romance together. That was very convoluted. Did you follow me on that? Sorry. Sorry if that kind of took you every which way. But basically, it's a bodyguard romance. And one thing about me, bitch, I love me a bodyguard romance. I really do. Something with me and security guards, I don't know what it is, you guys. When I go out, sometimes, this is totally off topic, but when I go out, I always attract or am attracted to a security guard. I don't know what it is. I really don't. Ask any of my friends, something with me and security guards. I don't know what it is. So for me, a bodyguard romance, right up my alley. I love me a bodyguard romance. So the Duchess that got married, her husband, Pet, becomes the personal assistant to him, and he is a walking mess. And it's so crazy because in the first book, he seemed like he was a perfectly normal guy, but in the second book, I guess he's not a royal, but I guess he is kind of a royal now that he married a duchess. But he's a walking disaster. Like, anything he touches crumbles. Like, he causes so much chaos. He's so clumsy. He always trips and falls, and he always just causes a mess. And Pet, as his personal assistant, is always going through it because she's trying to keep everything together and always try to keep him out of harm's way and try to salvage this guy's reputation. And Matthias, as this guy's bodyguard, has high blood pressure because he is somehow always getting himself into these insane situations, and Matthias is just trying to keep him safe, and this guy is causing all types of shit. So the two of them have their work cut out for them. Now, Matthias is one of those characters where he's 11 feet tall and 500 pounds. Like, this guy is massive from the way that all these other characters react to him and how random strangers on the street kind of cower away in fear when he's walking down because he's so big. And of course, Petunia is this cute little, sweet little, petite little thing. And I know people hate that when it's like a gigantic male character and then a small, tiny female main character. Me, personally, being 5'1", unfortunately, I eat it up. Yes, I do. Because I mean, well, I can't help but self-insert. What do you want from me? But that was a really big thing in the relationship, was that like everyone looks at him like he's some kind of monster, and she's out here defending him to the death. And I love that. Love that you ride or die for your man, girl. But yeah, it's the two of them basically trying to keep this guy's head above water and them falling in love. Matthias is a very closed off and very introverted person, very silent type, but he ends up being like one of those really squishy teddy bears. Like, he's so soft for her. But I rated this 4 stars. I ate this up. I really did. I absolutely loved it. And similar to the first book, these characters had lives and issues outside of the romance. They had things to deal with. Ate this up. Loved it. I loved this more than the first book. So that was Codename Charming. All right, the next book, I'm not going to go over too much because I have a separate vlog that I'm doing for this. And it's not out yet because I still haven't finished the series. But I finished The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the second book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I rated this 4 stars. I am locked the fuck in, you guys. After this book, this is really where things start happening. Action is being taken. The characters are off in their own adventures and shit is going on. Plot twists are being made. That's all I'm going to say about that right now, because I have all my detailed thoughts in that vlog, which is not up yet because I haven't finished the third book. I'm in the middle of it right now. Really enjoy this. 4 stars. This was, I think, the highest I rated any of the books from the series so far. That is The Two Towers. Next, I listened to Enemies to Lovers by Alicia Rai. This is actually the second book to... It's called the Daughters of Crime series. And if you watch my previous video where I recommended books that people don't really talk about, or, you know, I don't see floating around in the ether at all, I talked about the first book in the series called Partners in Crime. And I didn't know that this book coming out from this author was a sequel to that. I didn't know that was the first in the series. So I picked it up immediately because I really enjoyed that first book. And actually, I love the second book more than I did the first book. This one, our female main character, her name is Sejal. She's dealing with a lot of family trauma. Her mom's in jail because her mom ran one of the largest underground criminal organizations in India. A baddie, sorry to say. And her dad was a con man. So yeah, she's basically the daughter of criminals. All right. And so she kind of also cons her way through life by doing magic tricks with cards. That's how she kind of makes money, as she gambles and she shows men like, oh, I bet I can guess your card, like those types of tricks, and scams them out of all their money. And we love to see it. We love a sister scammer. Yeah, we do. She's also really badass too. I really loved her character in this book. She's trying to go on the straight and narrow now. You know, she's kind of done living the life where she's running for her life and running away from all these criminals and being associated with that. So she's really trying to live a life of the straight and narrow. But then she meets Krish, who poses himself to be an FBI agent who is trying to track down certain people in her life who he think will help find his brother who is missing. And his brother is actually the real FBI agent. And right before he had gone missing, Krish's brother was actually looking into Sejal's family crime organization. Because she comes from that family, he thinks that that's his in to find out what happened to his brother. And so they kind of go on a wild goose chase with people trying to hunt them and these criminal organizations trying to get to them. And you guys, the amount of twists and turns in this book and the amount of characters that I thought had no part in this book that played a huge part in it. And then Krish's own family, like there's so many This was insane, but I absolutely loved it. I love anything that has to do with like con people and criminal organizations, CIA, FBI. I love all that shit. I eat that shit up. And then you throw in a romance in it. Yeah. Yeah. I ate this up. This was a good time. I rated this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. You never knew anyone's true intentions. You didn't know who they were connected to, how they were connected to these people coming back from the dead. Obsessed. If you're looking for a romance with some action and some plot twists and sort of a wild goose chase, I highly recommend this. This was so fun. The only thing I don't like about this book is the title of it, Enemies to Lovers, because these two were not enemies whatsoever. The author could have chosen like a better title, but yeah, highly enjoyed this. Highly recommend. That is Enemies to Lovers. Okay. The next book that I read was The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. Okay, I've had this book on my physical TBR for a while, and I picked it up because it's fairly short, and so I knew that I could get through it fairly quickly. This is one of those books that I wouldn't really consider it a classic, but it is definitely more of a cult classic and a very well-known, beloved book. I did not know or realize that this book was in the eyes of a child or a young adult, shall I say. And when does it take place? I think it takes place in like the 80s or the 90s. It's very of that time. And the writing is very juvenile because it's in the perspective of a young woman. It did hinder my reading experience just a little bit. The book is sort of told in these short vignettes of certain places or certain people of this young woman's life. I don't know, it sort of lacked cohesion for me. We sort of jumped from the importance of this place and time and then to the next chapter, the importance of this character that we're just getting introduced to, jumping from here and then jumping there. And so it didn't feel like there was really a cohesive story at all. It was sort of, like I said, just vignettes, snapshots of this young woman's life as she's growing up on this street and the people around her and sort of changing of the times in society as she's living on this street in that house. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was an okay book. I am glad I read it and it was entertaining to say the least, but I was expecting a little bit more from it, or at least for me to have felt more for this book, to have more of a reaction to it than what I currently do, which is that it was an okay book. I rated it 3 stars, and yeah, I guess that's all I really have to say about that. So that is The House on Mango Street. Next book I read is Inked in Lies by Gianna Darling. This is now the 5th book in the Fallen Men series, which is a motorcycle club dark romance series by this author. And I think this will have been the 3rd book that I've read in the series so far. My favorite in the series is still Welcome to the Dark Side. Very taboo. Don't judge me. What I did love about this book, okay, is it's super angsty. They don't really make angsty books like this anymore. They really don't. And I feel like actually this might be the kind of angst you can only find in dark romance because of the setting where you have a motorcycle club where it's outlaws and very dark situations. So I feel like this is the only type of angst you can really get in that sort of book. And I missed it. I missed that. This book is about Lila and Nova. Lila is best friends with the daughter of the president of the motorcycle club. And so she's always been in the motorcycle club life, but she's not actually in the club herself. Like, she doesn't have any family in it. Like, she's not married into the club, but she's always sort of been a part of the motorcycle club life. And Nova actually is a childhood friend of hers that she grew up with. Her and her older brother actually got adopted into Nova's family when they were younger because her dad was in the cartel, and then her mom died, and then her dad went to jail. Because they had grown up so close and they were basically childhood friends and neighbors, Nova's parents took Lila and her older brother in, and so they were part of their family. But Lila and Nova everyone knew from a young age that those two were meant to be. Like, it was Lila and Nova from the beginning. And certain things pull them apart, certain things put them back together. Again, lots of angst. Obviously, there's a bit of suspense and crazy shit happening because he is in the motorcycle club. But I ate this up. I really did. I listened to the audiobook of this and I flew through it in, I think, 2 days. And I haven't listened to an audiobook like that in forever. Yeah, this kept me on the edge of my seat. I wanted to know what was going on with them, the push and pull. And again, just the angst in this romance, it had me in a fucking chokehold. All right. But yeah, I rated this. What did I rate this? 3.75 stars. Ate this shit up. I mean, obviously it's a motorcycle club romance, so it's not without its problems, right? But I still had such a good time with this. And like I said, I flew through this. I ate this shit up. That is Inkton Lies. The last book that I read in April, I picked up the Veronica Speedwell series again. Last year, I flew through the first 5 books in that series. I binged those 5 books. And then I stopped. I gave myself a little bit of a break because if I continue on, I'm sort of going to lose the magic, lose the momentum, because it's like I'm reading too much of the same thing all at once. And also because the 10th book came out this year. And as I read 5 books in the series, I wanted to slow down because I love this series so much. I truly think it's my favorite series of all time now. I didn't want to run out of books to read. I don't want to, 1, be waiting for too long for the next book, but 2, I also don't want to run out of Veronica Speedwell books because I love the series with my whole entire heart. It has become truly my personality. I will be devastated whenever the series ends. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Anyway, that was a long tangent. So I picked up the 6th book. And guys, I was suckered back into this series. I truly was. And it's been enough time to where I remember everything that happened previously, but enough time to make me miss it so much. And now that I'm back in this world, there is nowhere else I want to be. No, I'm already in the middle of the 7th book because I'm back. I don't know if I'm going to be able to take it slow. I might just end up binging the last 5 books like I binged the first 5 books because I love it so much. At this point, this is the 6th book in the series, so I really can't tell you much without spoiling anything. But I mean, each book does follow a different mystery that Veronica and her partner Stoker are helping solve. And in this one, we have the case of a missing princess. And Veronica, because she looks almost identical to that princess, ends up having to pretend to be the princess. Yeah, obviously they figure out where the princess is and, they solve the mystery. This was a 5 out of 5 stars because these books only get better. They still grip me with the mystery, the characters, and this world. I just love the series so much. I will not shut the fuck up about the series. However, this specific book, without any context at all, I'm going to read you this one quote and end it there. You are not among the good that has happened to me. You are the best of all that I have known. You are what I searched for when I left that house and wandered this earth, boy and man. You are the part of myself I never thought to find because I did not even dare to dream you existed. You are all that I want and more than I deserve. And I will go to my grave thanking a God in whom I do not believe in for bringing me to you. And I'm going to leave you with that. That was an unexpected peril. Okay, I feel like I've gotten way too comfortable in this video on this couch. Those are all of the 13 books that I read in the month of April. Let me know what you guys are reading because, like I said, I have not been paying attention to what anyone else has been reading, what is out there right now. I am solely focused on reading what I want to read. True mood reader up in this bitch right here. But let me know what you guys are reading. Let me know what books you have loved this month or any of the books that you've loved all year. If you've read any of the books that I mentioned or want to read it, let me know. Let's kiki. Let's talk about it. I feel like I haven't filmed in a really long time, so I miss you guys. I miss talking to you guys. But yeah, let's kiki in the comments. Tell me what books you're reading. Tell me what you're loving, what's going on, what's happening. I want to know. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.